Hi guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. In this video we're going to be looking at Tomb Raider Collection 1. This is cart number 40, perhaps the biggest release on Evercade yet. Obviously it is the brand new Giga cart, actually the most expensive cart yet, $24.99 as standard. Is it worth it? Let's have a look. Okay guys, so we're going to be looking at the Tomb Raider collection on Evercade. It's Tomb Raider 1, 2 and 3, the original PlayStation titles on Evercade, as they're not the remastered version, they are just Tomb Raider games as they were. Although I think they have made some subtle changes here and there to the actual games, and we'll cover that through the actual video. But pretty cool, got a nice little collection there, nice cart. Is it worth the $24.99? That really is up to you. I'd say probably yes. Obviously you can get the remastered versions on modern consoles, but these are the originals as they were on the PlayStation 1, running on your Evercade products. Now there's a little bit there about Crystal Dynamics. These games were originally published by Core Design back in the day, and obviously they were released on PlayStation. Massive releases they were on PlayStation, and obviously they are still making these games today, and they're making movies as well. So an absolutely huge license here, I would say. Perhaps the biggest license we've had on Evercade as yet. And they've got the original 3. Now I haven't really played Tomb Raider 2 and 3 an awful lot over the years. Obviously played them and completed them at the time. Tomb Raider 1 I've definitely played quite a lot, and obviously the remastered versions here and there. Lots of controls there. They tend to be similar for all the games. There's a few subtle changes, and we'll cover that in the video as we get to Tomb Raider 2 and 3. Some additions that were added throughout the actual series. But yeah, exploration games, platformy style games, lots of action, lots of stuff going on. Plenty to learn. If you've never played these games, then you're in for a treat. Absolute classics, I would say. Great stuff from the PlayStation era, perhaps some of the best games from that era as well. As I said, there's a lot there, there's a lot of things to cover, but what we'll do now is have a quick blast on the XP, quick look in the Super Pocket, and then we'll blast up onto the VS and we'll play through all 3 games. So here we have it, Tomb Raider 1, 2 and 3. That definitely looks really nice on the EXP. Perhaps probably the way that I will play the games for the best part is on handheld, probably on the go, or maybe just sitting watching something on the TV with the wife. Well, I say watching, I'll probably be playing games. But anyway, we've got all 3 of them on Evercade for the first time. As I said, I would say this is perhaps the biggest license we've seen on Evercade yet. Now there are some differences in the controls that in each of the games. Most of the controls are absolutely the same, but there's a few subtle differences. And obviously Tomb Raider 2, you've got L2 to throw or light a flare. So that's the most notable thing to notice for Tomb Raider 2. Tomb Raider 3, more of the same. Also, they're trying to up the graphics a little bit for this one, but there's a subtle change. The flare option is choosable in the select options instead, and now we have L2 for crouch and duck and crawl. Now that's very important. There's stages within the game you have to sort of crouch to get through to the next stages. And there is also a sprint button for some reason in the game as well. So a little bit of a difference here, and now it's R1 to use the flare if you've got it in your inventory. But that's the main changes. For the best part, all the controls are exactly the same as you would have probably felt on the PlayStation version as well. So control wise should be absolutely fine to play. But that's the main things worth of note. But let's have a quick play. So one thing worthy of note, the loading times for PlayStation games definitely take a little bit longer on the EXP for some reason. Probably on the VS as well. Hopefully they'll sort that at some point, but just beware, there's a slightly longer loading time. But as you see, I think it handles perfectly on the EXP. Let's have a quick look on the Super Pocket. Okay, so on the Super Pocket it still looks absolutely fantastic, but the loading time is so much quicker. Not really sure what's going on there. I think there's more checks going on in the VS and the XP, and it plays absolutely fine. Now the only issue you're going to have is utilising those shoulder buttons for some of the moves. And not a massive problem because you probably don't use them an awful lot. But you will use them, so just bear that in mind when you're sort of buying this for the Super Pocket. But as you can see, looks fantastic. Loading times are much quicker, so it's got some benefit there. But obviously it's got a drawback, the fact that the shoulder buttons are a little bit harder to reach on the Super Pockets. The D-pad probably isn't as great as the EXP either, but I think it seems okay. But I will look at this separately in a different video, just so that we give it its own sort of look. But anyway guys, let's have a look at it. Running on the VS, we'll run through all 3 games.
What's a man gotta do to get that kind of attention from you?
It's hard to say exactly, but you seem to be doing fine.
Well, great. Though truth is, it ain't me that wants you.
Oh?
No, Miss Jacqueline Natla does, from Natla Technologies. You know, creator of all things bright and beautiful.
Seal it, Larson.
Ma'am.
Feast your eyes on this, Laura. How does that make your wallet rumble?
I'm sorry. I only play for sport.
Then you'll like a big park. Peru, vast mountain ranges to cover, sheer walls of ice, rocky crags, savage winds, and there's this little trinket. An age-old artifact of mystical powers buried in the unfound tomb of Qualapec. That's my interest. You could leave tomorrow. Are you busy tomorrow?
Okay guys, so before you actually get started, I would recommend that you jump into Lara's Home from the main menu. Now there's a Lara's Home on each of the 3 games. The first one is pretty basic, to be honest. And the Tomb Raider 2 and 3, there's a little bit more involved and you can maybe do a little bit more exploring. But in the first game, it's really just all about getting familiarised with the controls and understanding the different moves. Now if you've played Tomb Raider before, you probably don't need to jump into here. Although it certainly helps to get yourself familiarised with the layout anyway. But if you've never played them before, probably start here, just get yourself used to the controls before you get stuck into the main game. There's not really a lot to do in the first game, as I said. It's really just about exploring a little bit and then get to the end, and then you'll automatically get taken to the main menu before you start the full game. Tomb Raider 2 and 3, there's a little bit more involved, and yeah, you can mess about and lock the butler in the toilet, just as you would done back in the day.
Run up to a crate, and while still pressing forward, press action, and I'll vault up onto it. This used to... I don't actually... Let's go for... Just use forward and left and right to manoeuvre around on the surface. Right, now I'd better take off these wet...
Okay, so for me, the original Tomb Raider is definitely the best of the three games. Obviously, all the games are pretty similar, but I think the sort of basic exploration of the first game certainly nailed it in the head. I felt that they went too far in the sequels a little bit. There's a lot more exploration in this game than obviously second one. They concentrated a little bit more in action. The third one tried to take it back a little bit while trying to make the graphics look a little bit more advanced. Now, don't worry about the breakup and the tearing of the polygons and the jaggies. It was a lot worse on the original PlayStation. Through emulation, it's certainly improved somewhat. Blaze have made some changes to the lighting here and there. It's probably more apparent on Tomb Raider 3 than the first and second one, for example. But I think my personal favourite is definitely Tomb Raider 1. I've played that the most over the years, and I think that is the best. But obviously, you might completely disagree, but I think they got this one perfect, and I think they were probably trying a little bit too hard in the sequels.
No.
Now, the in-game saving differed a little bit between the three games. In Tomb Raider 1, you came across these crystals, and then you press the X button to choose whether to save your game or just continue without saving. Now, obviously, on the Evercade, you can use the save states as well, so that's probably the preferred way of actually playing the game, rather than dealing with the frustrations of waiting for a save state. But obviously that is up to you how you actually play the game. It differs a little bit in Tomb Raider 2. I think you collected the crystals instead, or was that Tomb Raider 3? I can't really remember. But I think in the sort of subsequent games, you collected the crystals, then choose a point where you wanted to save, rather than Tomb Raider 1. You found the crystals, you had to save at that exact point. But for me, I'm going to be utilising the save states anyway, rather than the crystals. But I'm pretty sure some people will want to play it as it was on the original PlayStation. So on to Tomb Raider 2, and they've obviously tried to up the graphics slightly, more detail, more colour, and a lot more action sequences in the game. That's the biggest difference I think you'll find with that. And there's a lot more sort of vehicles that you can use, like boats and jeeps, all sorts of different things throughout the game. Whether that makes it a better game or not, I'm not entirely sure. I still think the first one is the best of the bunch. Not saying that the Tomb Raider 2 and 3 are bad games, not at all, but they are just a little bit different, and I feel they have tried a little bit too hard to make them better. But definitely a really cool game, lots to see, lots to do, but there's probably less sort of focus on the exploration, more on the action sequences, and it definitely reminds me a lot of the modern Tomb Raider games, where the sequences of action just seem to keep hitting you, and the impending doom and death is always facing you constantly throughout the game, and you just feel as if you're just constantly running away from danger, and that's pretty much what this game feels like to me. But still, really good game, but I think the first one still is the better of the three games here. So on to Tomb Raider 3, and again, it's quite obvious they've upped the graphics further still. Lots more detail, lots more things happening. I'm pretty sure I experienced some slowdown in Tomb Raider 3 on the PlayStation, and you might experience some of that in the Evercade version as well. There's too much happening sometimes for the game to actually cope. You've got a lot of rain effects, you've got a lot of detail in the graphics, so many things happening, and I think at times it probably does suffer just slightly. But that was apparent on the PlayStation version as well, so don't think it's the Evercade that's the problem. It will be PlayStation. And in this game, obviously, you collect the save crystals and you can save whenever you like, which is a little bit weird, but for me, I'm still going to be utilising those save states. Now, don't forget, in this game, you can also crouch by pressing the L2 button. That is quite important because you might hit a dead end and there's no apparent way to progress. Don't forget to crouch. You can obviously go under some objects as well, and you'll have to use that to actually make progress through the game. I think this game is trying to go back to the exploration of the first game, but at times I felt I was probably wandering about, no idea where I was supposed to go, constant dead ends, and there's obviously something you completely miss. And this is me having played the game and completed it back in the day. I still can't remember where to go and what to do. But one of the most obvious changes I think that Blaze have done to this particular game is probably the lighting. Now, I remember playing this on my TV back in the day, and some parts were very, very dark, and there was no option in the actual game to change the lighting or brightness, which meant you had to change the brightness on your actual TV to see certain sections. I think it's definitely been improved. There's been areas where you can clearly see they've made changes to the lighting so you can actually see where you're going. In this particular part, it's most apparent too. Under this water at the end, in the original version, you couldn't see where to go. You couldn't actually see there was a passage at the end of here so that you could actually escape and get out the water. So that's a nice improvement. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more improvements, but Blaze will probably have to let us know where they've made the changes, and I'm sure they will provide some features at some point for that, which would be really quite helpful. But really cool game, more of the same. But as I said earlier, I think Tomb Raider 1 is definitely the best of the bunch, but Tomb Raider 2 and 3 are pretty much more of the same. If you enjoy the other two, you'll love these as well. So should you buy the Tomb Raider collection on Evercade? Absolutely you should. If you're a big fan or you've never played them before, now is your opportunity to get stuck in. Buy the physical version for your Evercade. Yes, it is a little bit more expensive at $24.99, but arguably this is probably the biggest license that Blaze have brought to Evercade yet, and you'd be mad to miss out. Obviously we have to mention those remasters that were released in March 2024 on Xbox, PlayStation, on Steam, and you might even be able to pick them up cheaper if there's a sale on. But personally I think it's great to play the original versions as they were, obviously with a little bit more tweaks here and there, but so there's something about playing those original versions, a physical copy, it just seems the way to go for me. And I think Blaze have done a really good job, and it's brilliant that we have such a massive license on Evercade. Hopefully that will be a sign of bigger things to come. Maybe we'll see more Tomb Raider down the line on a second collection perhaps, because there are more sort of Tomb Raider games that were released on PlayStation that we could see. I'm pretty sure that this collection will be one of the best selling collections on Evercade to date. The fact that it is bundled with the new console and handheld will bring aboard a lot more new people to the Evercade community. And if you are new, welcome to the channel. There's plenty more content out there on Evercade products, and there'll be lots more in the future. But anyway guys, thanks very much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.